The hospital called at 2 in the morning, and he had 30 seconds to decide if she lived. Emergency contact meant paperwork, a phone number on a form she'd filled out 3 years ago after they became friends. It wasn't supposed to mean standing in a fluorescent hallway while a doctor explained intubation risks. It wasn't supposed to mean choosing between her life and the procedure she'd told him once, over coffee, that she'd never want. Anaphylactic shock. Severe reaction. Her airway was closing. Sign here. He signed. The pen felt too light for what it meant. The doctor disappeared through double doors. Daniel stood alone in the waiting room, his phone still warm in his hand. The call had lasted 40 seconds. Her breathing had lasted less. When she woke up, she'd either forgive him or never speak to him again. He sat down. The clock on the wall ticked forward. He waited. His phone vibrated on the nightstand. Daniel reached for it without opening his eyes. The screen said 2:14 a.m. Unknown number. He answered. "Is this Daniel Brooks?" A woman's voice, clipped, professional. "Yes. This is Providence, Portland Medical Center. You're listed as the emergency contact for Emma Reid. She was brought in 20 minutes ago. We need you here immediately." His chest tightened. He sat up. "What happened?" "Anaphylactic shock. She's in respiratory distress. We need consent for intubation. How fast can you get here?" He was already standing, pulling on jeans. 15 minutes. "We'll be waiting." The call ended. Daniel grabbed his keys, his wallet, his jacket. The apartment door slammed behind him. The hallway lights burned too bright. His hands shook as he hit the elevator button. The descent felt like falling. Emergency contact. He'd signed that form 3 years ago. He hadn't thought about it since. Anaphylactic shock, respiratory distress, Emma. The parking garage was silent. 3 years ago. Community center on a Tuesday night. First aid certification class. Daniel had signed up because the station required recertification. Emma had signed up because her design firm offered a insurance discount. They'd ended up as practice partners. She'd been terrible at chest compressions. He'd shown her the rhythm. She'd made a joke about breaking ribs. He'd laughed. After class, she'd asked if he wanted coffee. They'd talked for 2 hours. She was a graphic designer, freelance. She loved her work but hated invoicing. She'd moved to Portland 4 years earlier from Seattle. No family nearby, a few friends, mostly work acquaintances. She seemed lonely in a way she didn't acknowledge. He'd told her about the station, about becoming a paramedic after his sister died. Not the details, just enough. She'd listened without pity. They'd exchanged numbers. Coffee became a weekly thing, then dinner sometimes, movies occasionally. They'd fallen into friendship easily, comfortably, the kind where silence didn't need filling. He'd never pushed for more. She'd never suggested it. 3 years of coffee and conversation and careful distance. And now her name on a hospital form meant he had to choose whether she lived. The emergency room entrance glowed harsh white. Daniel pushed through automatic doors. A nurse looked up from the desk. "Emma Reid," he said. "I'm Daniel Brooks. You called me." "Room 7, Dr. Patel is waiting." The hallway smelled like disinfectant and fear. Room 7 was third on the left. The door stood open. Inside, machines beeped steady rhythms. Emma lay on the bed, unconscious. A breathing tube down her throat, IV lines in both arms. A woman in a white coat turned. "Mr. Brooks?" "Yes." "I'm Dr. Patel. Thank you for coming so quickly." She gestured to a chair. "Please sit." He stayed standing. "What happened?" Ms. Reid presented with severe anaphylaxis, likely food-related. Her airway began closing. We administered epinephrine immediately. It helped, but not enough. Dr. Patel pulled out a tablet. Her medical history indicates shellfish allergy, documented as moderate, but this reaction was extreme. Daniel looked at Emma. Her face was pale, swollen. She looked small. We need to intubate to protect her airway while the swelling resolves. The procedure carries risks, especially given her reaction severity. Dr. Patel held out the tablet. You're listed as her healthcare proxy. We need your consent. The screen showed a form, dense text, legal language, boxes to check. What are the risks? Potential complications include infection, bleeding, damage to teeth or throat tissue. In rare cases, cardiac arrest. Dr. Patel met his eyes. But without intubation, her airway will close completely. That risk is immediate. Daniel took the tablet. His hands felt numb. There's something else, Dr. Patel said quietly. Her file has a note from 2 years ago. She indicated she'd prefer minimal intervention in emergencies. She specifically mentioned concerns about intubation. He looked up. What? It's not legally binding, just a preference note, but I'm required to inform you. The machines beeped. Emma's chest rose and fell with mechanical precision. She'd never told him that. How long do I have to decide? Minutes, not many. Daniel looked at the form, at Emma, at the doctor's waiting face. She'd put his name on that form. 3 years ago, after 2 months of friendship, she could have chosen anyone. She'd chosen him. He signed. Dr. Patel took the tablet. We'll begin immediately. The waiting room is down the hall. This will take about 40 minutes. Can I stay? Family only during procedures. I'm all she has. Dr. Patel paused, then nodded. You can wait outside the room. The chair outside room 7 had a broken armrest. Daniel sat anyway. Through the door's window, he watched medical staff move with practiced efficiency. They worked on Emma with gloved hands and focused faces. He couldn't see details, just movement, purpose. His phone said 3:02 a.m. An hour ago, he'd been asleep. Now he'd signed a form that put a tube down Emma's throat. Against her stated wishes, because she'd trusted him with that choice 3 years ago. The weight of it pressed against his ribs. He thought about the last time they'd had dinner, 2 weeks ago. Thai food. She'd ordered carefully, asked about ingredients. The server had assured her no shellfish. She'd seemed satisfied. She always asked, always checked. She'd told him once it was annoying, being that person, the one with restrictions, making things complicated. He'd said everyone had something. His thing was heights, hers was shellfish. She'd smiled. Moderate allergy, her file said. But this reaction wasn't moderate. This was her airway closing. This was machines breathing for her. Had she known it could get worse? Had she hidden that too? Through the window, a nurse adjusted something. Emma didn't move. She looked so still. Daniel's sister had looked like that. After, when the paramedics finally stopped trying, asthma attack, sudden, severe. He'd been 17, she'd been 14. He'd called 911, done CPR exactly right, the way he'd learned in school. But her inhaler had been empty. The ambulance took 11 minutes. She'd died before they arrived. He'd become a paramedic because of that, because 11 minutes was too long, because he'd needed to be the person who showed up, who knew what to do, who saved people. But you couldn't save everyone. And signing a form wasn't the same as saving someone. The door opened. Dr. Patel stepped out. She pulled her mask down. The procedure went well. She's stable. We'll monitor her closely. She should wake within the next few hours. Relief made his legs weak. Thank you. She'll need to stay at least 48 hours, possibly longer depending on recovery. Dr. Patel paused. You made the right choice, Mr. Brooks. He wanted to believe that. Emma's eyes opened at 6:47 a.m. Daniel had been sitting in the chair beside her bed for 3 hours. He'd watched dawn light creep through the blinds. He'd watched her chest rise and fall. He'd counted breaths. Her eyes found him first. Confusion, then recognition, then fear. She tried to speak, couldn't. The breathing tube was still in. "Don't," he said quietly. "Don't try to talk. You're okay. You're at Providence. You had a severe allergic reaction. You're going to be fine." She reached for her throat. He caught her hand. "They'll remove it soon," Dr. Patel said within the hour. "Just breathe." Emma's fingers squeezed his, hard. Her eyes asked questions he didn't know how to answer. A nurse came in, checked monitors, smiled at Emma. "Welcome back. You gave us quite a scare. Dr. Patel will be in shortly." The nurse left. Emma's hand stayed in his. She looked at him. Really looked. Her eyes were clearer now, still scared, but present. He should have felt relief. Instead, he felt dread. She didn't know yet what he'd signed, what he'd authorized. Dr. Patel arrived 20 minutes later. She explained everything, the reaction, the intubation, the recovery expectations. Emma listened, nodded carefully, asked nothing. After the tube came out, she coughed, drank water slowly. Her voice came back rough and painful. "What did I eat?" she asked. "We're not certain yet," Dr. Patel said, "but your boyfriend can probably help piece that together." "He's not my boyfriend." "Oh, I apologize. Your emergency contact then." Emma looked at Daniel. Something shifted in her expression. "You signed the consent forms?" "Yes." "For intubation?" "Yes." Her jaw tightened. "I need to talk to him alone." Dr. Patel glanced between them, then left. The room felt suddenly smaller. Emma's voice shook when she spoke. "You knew." "Knew what?" "About my preference note. The doctor mentioned it. She said she was required to tell you that I'd indicated I didn't want intubation." Daniel leaned forward. "She also said your airway was closing, that you'd die without it." "That was my choice to make." "You put my name on that form, Emma. You made it my choice." "I put your name down 3 years ago, as a backup, for emergencies, not for you to override what I wanted." "What you wanted was in a file from 2 years ago, a preference note, not legally binding. Your actual choice was naming me as your healthcare proxy. That's legally binding." Her hands gripped the blanket. "You had no right." "I had every right. You gave it to me. I was unconscious. I couldn't consent. So you should have defaulted to my documented wishes. That's how it works." "That's how it works if the documented wishes aren't going to kill you." "It was my risk to take." Daniel stood. "No, it wasn't. Not anymore. Not when you put my name on that form. Not when the hospital called me at 2 in the morning and said they needed consent in minutes. You made this my responsibility, so I made the call." Emma's eyes filled. "You didn't even know me that well when I listed you. We'd been friends for 2 months." "I know, and you still chose me. Maybe I made a mistake." The words hung between them like glass. Daniel sat back down, slowly. His chest hurt. "Maybe you did," he said quietly, "but I can't undo it now, and I can't apologize for keeping you alive." Emma turned her face toward the window. Morning light made her look fragile, breakable. "I hate being helpless," she whispered. "I hate needing people to make choices for me. I hate that you saw me like that." "Like what?" "Weak, dependent. I saw you unconscious. That's not the same thing." "It's exactly the same thing." She looked back at him. "You don't understand. My whole childhood was being the kid who caused problems. The one with allergies. The one who made everything complicated. My parents were so tired of dealing with it, of dealing with me. I learned to handle things myself, to not need anyone. And then this happens, and I'm right back to being the problem." Daniel's throat tightened. "You're not a problem, Emma. You had to leave your bed at 2 a.m. to sign forms. You had to make an impossible choice. Because of me. Because you trusted me. There's a difference." She wiped her eyes. "I don't feel like I can trust anyone right now, including myself." The machines beeped. Outside the room, hospital sounds continued. Normal. routine. I'm sorry, Daniel said. I'm sorry you're angry. I'm sorry I went against your wishes, but I'm not sorry you're alive. Emma didn't answer. Dr. Patel returned an hour later with discharge instructions. Except Emma wasn't being discharged. 2 weeks minimum recovery, Dr. Patel explained. You'll need daily monitoring, check-ins with a nurse or medical professional, someone to help with daily activities while your body heals. The reaction was severe. Your system needs time. Emma sat up straighter. I can manage at home. Alone? Yes. Ms. Reid, you experienced a life-threatening reaction 12 hours ago. You still have significant inflammation. You're at higher risk for secondary reactions. You need support. I'll be fine. Dr. Patel looked at Daniel. Can you help convince her? No, Emma said sharply. He can't. Daniel crossed his arms. Yes, I can. He met Emma's glare. You're not going home alone. That's not negotiable. You don't get to decide that. Actually, he does, Dr. Patel said calmly. Your discharge requires a care plan, a responsible adult who can assist. If you refuse, we'll keep you here for observation, for the full 2 weeks. Emma's face went pale. That's not legal. It's medical necessity. You experienced a severe acute episode. You're not stable enough for unsupervised recovery. Silence filled the room. Emma stared at her hands. Her fingers twisted the blanket edge. I don't want to be a burden, she said finally, quietly. You're not, Daniel said. You don't even know what you're agreeing to. 2 weeks of taking care of someone who can barely function, who'll need help with basic things, who make your life complicated. I'm a paramedic. I take care of people who can barely function all the time. This is different, but not harder. It's your home, your space. My apartment has ground floor access, no stairs. Your building has 3 flights, and no elevator. He'd walked her home enough times to know. It makes more sense. Emma looked at Dr. Patel. Do I have a choice? You can choose where you recover, with support. Or here, those are your options. Emma closed her eyes. Fine, but this doesn't change anything between us. This is just logistics. Agreed, Daniel said. It was a lie. They both knew it. But Emma signed the discharge papers. Dr. Patel approved the care plan, and 2 hours later, Daniel pulled his truck up to the hospital entrance. Emma walked slowly, carefully, like her body might betray her. He opened the passenger door. She climbed in without looking at him. The drive to his apartment took 12 minutes. Neither of them spoke. Daniel's apartment was small. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that opened to a living room. Clean, but lived in. Exactly what Emma had imagined. Except now, she was going to be here. For 2 weeks. Guest rooms through there, Daniel said. He carried her bag. A nurse had packed it. Emma's clothes, her phone charger, toiletries. Evidence of how completely she'd lost control. The guest room was simple. A bed, a dresser, a lamp. The window looked out on a quiet street. Daniel set her bag on the bed. Bathrooms across the hall. I'll clear out a drawer for your things. Make yourself comfortable. Comfortable. What a word. Emma sat on the edge of the bed. It was softer than hers. Or maybe she was just exhausted. Thank you, she said, because she had to say something. Daniel nodded. Do you need anything right now? Water? Food? No. Okay, I'm going to make up the couch, give you space, but I'm here if you need me. He left, closed the door quietly behind him. Emma stared at the bag, at her belongings in someone else's space, at the evidence that she couldn't take care of herself right now. Her phone sat on the nightstand. She picked it up, scrolled through contacts, looking for someone else, anyone else she could call, someone who could take Daniel's place. Her parents lived in Florida. They'd worry. They'd make it about themselves. They'd remind her this was why she needed to be more careful. Friends from work. Most were acquaintances, surface level. They'd help if asked, but it would be awkward, obligatory. Sophie, her best friend from college. But Sophie had 2 kids under 5, a husband who traveled. She was drowning in her own life. Emma's thumb hovered over Sophie's name, then moved past it. The truth settled cold in her chest. Daniel was right. She'd put his name on that form 3 years ago because even then, she'd known. He was the person she'd want, the person she'd trust, the person who'd show up at 2 a.m. She'd been so angry at the hospital, at his choice, at her lack of control. But the anger was easier than admitting the real problem. She had no one else. And Daniel had become the person who mattered most without her realizing when that happened. Emma set the phone down, lay back on the bed, stared at the ceiling. Outside, she heard him moving, setting up blankets probably, making his couch into a bed, giving up his room for her. She closed her eyes. 2 weeks. Then she'd go home, back to her own space, her own life. 2 weeks wasn't long enough to change anything. It had to be. Morning light filtered through unfamiliar curtains. Emma woke, disoriented, then remembered. Daniel's apartment, the guest room. 2 weeks. Day 1. The smell of coffee drifted under the door. She sat up slowly. Her body ached. Her throat still felt raw. The clock said 7:23 a.m. She heard him moving in the kitchen. Quiet sounds, careful not to wake her probably. Emma stood. Her legs felt weak. She made it to the bathroom, washed her face, avoided looking too closely at her reflection. When she opened the guest room door, Daniel was at the stove. He turned. "Morning. How'd you sleep?" "Fine." A lie. She'd woken every hour, each time unsure where she was. "Coffee's ready. I made oatmeal. Hope that's okay. I wasn't sure what you could handle." Emma sat at the small kitchen table. Daniel set a bowl in front of her. Plain oatmeal, brown sugar on the side, a glass of water. He thought about what would be gentle on her throat. "Thank you." He sat across from her with his own bowl. They ate in silence. The kitchen was small enough that she could hear him breathe. "I have a shift tonight," Daniel said. 6 to 6. I'll leave instructions, medications, emergency numbers. My coworker said he'd check on you around midnight. I don't need checking on. Dr. Patel's orders, daily monitoring. I already cleared it. Emma set down her spoon. "This is ridiculous. This is recovery. I'm not a child." "I know, but you scared the hell out of me 2 days ago, so I'm being cautious. You can be angry about it, that's fine, but I'm not backing down." His voice was calm, steady, the same voice he probably used with panicked patients. It made her want to scream or cry. She wasn't sure which. "I hate this," she said. "I know. I hate that you're doing this because you have to." Daniel leaned back. "I'm not doing this because I have to. I'm doing this because I want to." "Why?" "Because you're my friend." And friends show up. The word friend sat between them. Insufficient. But neither of them reached for a different one. Emma finished her oatmeal. Daniel cleared the dishes. She wanted to help. Knew she shouldn't. Sat still while he washed up. "I'm going to sleep for a few hours before my shift," he said. "There's soup in the fridge, bread. Help yourself to anything. TV remotes on the coffee table, books on the shelf. Make yourself at home. Make yourself at home in someone else's space while they take care of you." "Okay," she said. Daniel hesitated at the doorway to his room. "Emma, this doesn't have to be miserable. We've been friends for 3 years. We can survive 2 weeks." Then he closed the door. Emma sat at the table for a long time after. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. Outside, Portland morning sounds filtered in. Traffic, birds, life continuing. She pulled out her phone, typed a message to Sophie. "Had a bad allergic reaction. I'm okay. Staying with a friend for recovery. We'll call soon." She hit send before she could overthink it. Sophie's response came immediately. What? Are you serious? Which friend? Call me now. Emma turned her phone face down. She'd call later, when she could explain without crying. 6 months earlier, Daniel's apartment, movie night. They'd started doing this monthly, taking turns choosing films. Tonight was Emma's pick, some indie drama about architects. Daniel had fallen asleep 20 minutes in. Emma had noticed. Let him sleep. He'd worked double shifts all week. He needed rest more than he needed to watch subtitles. When the credits rolled, she'd turned off the TV, considered leaving. But he looked peaceful, and she'd had half a bottle of wine, and his apartment felt warmer than hers. She'd pulled a blanket from the back of the couch, covered him carefully. He'd stirred. Movie over? Yeah, it was beautiful. You missed all of it. Sorry. He'd smiled without opening his eyes. Stay. It's late. I should go. Stay. The word hung in the dark. An offer. An invitation. Emma had almost said yes, almost curled up on the other end of the couch, almost let herself have that comfort. Instead, she'd squeezed his shoulder. Get some real sleep. I'll text when I'm home. She'd left before he could argue. Later, lying in her own bed, she'd wondered what would have happened if she'd stayed. Now she knew. She'd be exactly where she was now, in his space, dependent. Except it wouldn't have been her choice. At least this way she could pretend it was temporary. Day 3. Emma tried to shower alone. Daniel was sleeping. Afternoon shift coming up. She'd been careful all morning. Slow movements, no risks. But she felt disgusting. 2 days without a real shower. The bathroom had a shower-tub combination. She turned on the water, let it warm, stepped in carefully. The hot water felt incredible. She stood under the spray, let it run over her face, her shoulders. Tension she hadn't realized she was carrying started to ease. Then her legs went weak. No warning, just sudden vertigo. The room tilted. She grabbed for the wall. Missed. Her knee hit the tub edge, hard. She went down. The sound brought Daniel immediately. He knocked. Emma, you okay? I'm fine. You don't sound fine. I just need a minute. I'm coming in. Don't. The door opened. Daniel stood there in sweatpants and a t-shirt, hair messy from sleep. His eyes found her immediately, sitting in the tub, water still running, naked except for the shower curtain she'd pulled around herself. His face went carefully blank. Professional. Did you hit your head? No, my knee. He grabbed a towel, held it up without looking directly at her. Can you stand? I think so. Don't think, try. Emma reached for the towel bar, pulled herself up. Her legs shook but held. Daniel wrapped the towel around her shoulders, turned off the water, helped her step out. She'd never felt more humiliated in her life. Sit, he said, pointed to the closed toilet lid. She sat. Daniel knelt in front of her, examined her knee. It was already bruising. He touched it gently, clinical, checking for serious damage. Nothing broken. You'll have a good bruise, though. He looked up, met her eyes. What happened? I got dizzy. Your body's still recovering. You pushed too hard. I just wanted to shower. I know, but you need to ask for help. That's the whole point of me being here. Emma pulled the towel tighter. I didn't want you to have to see me like this. Like what? Helpless, naked, a mess. Daniel sat back on his heels. Emma, I'm a paramedic. I've seen people in every state imaginable. This doesn't bother me. It bothers me. He stood, pulled a second towel from the rack. I'm going to step outside. Get yourself dried off. Put on whatever you're comfortable in. Then I'm helping you back to your room. And tomorrow, if you want to shower, you tell me. I'll stay outside the door. You don't have to do everything alone. He left, closed the door behind him. Emma dried off. Her hands shook. From cold or emotion, she couldn't tell. She pulled on the robe that had been hanging on the door hook. his robe. It smelled like him, soap and something cedar. She opened the door. Daniel waited in the hallway, face carefully neutral. Ready? She nodded. He offered his arm. She took it. They walked slowly back to the guest room. He helped her sit on the bed, handed her comfortable clothes from her bag. I'll make tea, he said. Call if you need anything. After he left, Emma changed. Her knee throbbed. Her pride hurt worse. She'd been in his apartment for 3 days. Already she'd needed help with basic human functions. Already she'd broken the careful distance they'd maintained for 3 years. 2 weeks suddenly felt impossible. Day 5. Daniel's notes. He'd left for his night shift at 5:30 p.m. Emma had watched him go. The apartment felt larger without him. On the kitchen counter, he'd left detailed instructions, medications and times, his cell number, his co-worker's number, the station number, Dr. Patel's office, the nearest urgent care, emergency services, a list of acceptable foods, things she could eat safely. And then, separate from the medical stuff, other notes. Soup in the fridge, just needs heating, low setting, 5 minutes. New book on the coffee table, thought you might like it, that author you mentioned last month. Trash day is Thursday, I'll take it out when I'm back. Weather's supposed to be nice tomorrow. Open the window if you want fresh air. Small things, thoughtful things, the kind of details you noticed about someone when you paid attention. Emma sat at the counter, read through the notes twice, 3 times. He'd bought a book for her, remembered a conversation from weeks ago, left it out like it was nothing. She picked up the book. Mystery novel. The author she'd been excited about. She'd mentioned it once. In passing. He'd remembered. Emma opened to the first page, read 3 chapters, then set it down. She pulled out her phone, opened a new message to Daniel. Thank you for the book. She stared at the words, deleted them, typed again. Thank you for everything. Deleted that too. Finally settled on, book is great. Soup was perfect. I'm fine. Don't worry. Hit send. His response came 10 minutes later. Good. Get some rest. Emma looked around the apartment. His space. His life. She'd been here 5 days. Somehow it already felt familiar. The way the afternoon light hit the living room, the sound of the refrigerator, the creak of the floorboards near the bathroom. She knew which cabinet held the coffee mugs, where he kept the good tea, that the left burner heated faster than the right. Small intimacies, the kind that came from living with someone. Except this wasn't permanent. This was recovery, logistics, 2 weeks that would end, and then they'd go back to coffee dates and careful distance. Emma closed her eyes, tried to remember what her own apartment looked like. The layout, the view, the way sound carried. It felt distant, like somewhere she'd lived years ago instead of days. Day 7. Sophie called while Emma was reading. Finally, Sophie said when Emma answered. I've been texting you for days. What the hell happened? Severe allergic reaction. Ended up hospitalized. I'm recovering. Where? At your place? Emma hesitated. A friend's. Which friend? Daniel. Silence. Then, Daniel, the coffee friend. The guy you've been not dating for 3 years. That's the one. You're staying with him. For recovery, it's temporary. Medical necessity. Right, medical necessity. Sophie's tone carried weight. This is huge. It's logistics. It's not. You don't stay with someone for 2 weeks if it's just logistics. You don't let someone see you that vulnerable unless they matter. Emma's throat tightened. Can we not do this right now? Do what? Analyze my life choices while I'm recovering from a near-death experience. Sophie's voice softened. Hey, I'm not judging. I'm just saying, this is significant. Whether you want to admit it or not. I don't want to admit anything. I want to heal and go home and pretend this never happened. Yeah, good luck with that. They talked for 10 more minutes. Sophie filled her in on the kids, on her husband's latest work crisis. Normal things. Life continuing while Emma's was on pause. After they hung up, Emma sat with the phone in her lap, thought about what Sophie had said. You don't stay with someone unless they matter. Daniel mattered. She'd known that for a while, maybe since the beginning. But knowing and acknowledging were different things. Acknowledging meant risk, meant vulnerability, meant possibly losing the friendship they'd built. And Emma was already dependent enough, already exposed. She couldn't handle more. The guest room door stayed closed. She stayed inside, safe, for now. Day 9, 2 a.m. Daniel came home from a shift, exhausted, drained, the kind of tired that went bone deep. Bad call, 23-year-old, car accident. They'd done everything right. The timing had been perfect. But sometimes that didn't matter. The kid had died anyway. Daniel dropped his keys on the counter, sat on the couch, didn't turn on lights. He heard Emma's door open, footsteps. She appeared in the dim hallway, wearing one of his spare t-shirts and soft pants, hair loose. "You're back," she said. "Yeah. You okay?" "Fine." She moved into the living room, sat beside him, not too close, but present. "You're not fine." Daniel leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands in his hair. "Bad night. Do you want to talk about it?" "No." They sat in silence. Emma didn't push, didn't ask again, just stayed. After a long time, Daniel said, "We lost someone tonight. Kid, just out of college. Drunk driver ran a red light. We got there fast, did everything by protocol. Wasn't enough. I'm sorry. I hate that part. The part where you do everything right and it still goes wrong." Emma shifted closer. Her hand found his shoulder. "I'm really sorry." Daniel's chest felt tight, like something was breaking. He'd held it together at the scene, during transport, filing the report, talking to the family. But now, in his apartment, with Emma's hand warm on his shoulder, the walls cracked. "I couldn't save her," he whispered. "Your sister?" He looked at Emma. "How'd you know?" "You've mentioned her, not details, but enough. I can tell she's why you do this." Daniel nodded. "Asthma attack. I was home. She called for help. I tried, called 911, did CPR, but I was 17. I didn't know enough, and she was already gone by the time they arrived." "That wasn't your fault." "Logically, I know that, but logic doesn't help. Not when I'm sitting with another family, telling them their kid didn't make it." Emma's hand moved from his shoulder to his. She laced their fingers together. "You can't save everyone, Daniel. No one can. I signed a form last week that saved you. If I'd hesitated, if I'd honored your wishes instead, you'd be gone. But I'm not. Because I chose. Because I decided your life mattered more than your preference. But what if I'd been wrong? What if you'd woken up hating me? What if the procedure had gone bad?" Emma squeezed his hand. "But it didn't. I'm here. I'm alive. Because you made a hard choice under impossible pressure. That's what you do. That's who you are." "Sometimes I wish I wasn't." "Wasn't what?" "The person who has to choose. The person who carries that weight." Emma shifted, turned to face him fully. "Then why did you become a paramedic?" "Because I failed once, and I needed to prove I could be better." "And are you? Better?" "I don't know. Some days I save people. Some days I watch them die. I don't know if that makes me better or just more practiced at failing." Emma's other hand came up, touched his face, made him look at her. "You saved me. That counts." "Does it?" "You were furious." "I was scared. I'm still scared. Of needing people. Of being a burden. Of being the complicated one." Her voice cracked. "But you showed up anyway. You made the hard choice. You're still here. That counts for everything." Daniel's breath caught. Emma was close enough that he could see tears in her eyes. could feel her warmth, could fall into this moment and change everything. He wanted to kiss her, had wanted to for longer than he'd admit. But she was in his apartment because she'd almost died, because she needed care, because he'd made a choice that took her agency. Kissing her now would be taking advantage, would be crossing a line while she was vulnerable. So instead he squeezed her hand. Thank you. For what? For being here, for not running when things got hard. Emma smiled, sad, gentle. I'm literally trapped in your apartment. I can't run. You know what I mean. Yeah, I do. They sat together until the sky started to lighten, until Daniel's exhaustion pulled him under. He fell asleep on the couch. Emma pulled a blanket over him, turned off the lamp. She stood there a moment, looking at him. This man who'd signed a form at 2 a.m. because her life mattered, who'd given up his room, who'd come home broken and let her see it. She wanted to say something, do something, but her own fear held her still. So she went back to the guest room, closed the door, lay in the dark and wondered when caring about someone had become so terrifying. Day 11, late afternoon, rain tapping against windows. Emma and Daniel sat at the kitchen table. He'd made sandwiches. She'd actually helped. Small progress. Can I ask you something? Emma said. Sure. Why did you put your sister's initials on your keychain? Daniel looked surprised. You noticed that? I notice a lot about you. He pulled the keychain from his pocket. Small, silver, the letters MB engraved simply. Melissa Brooks. She was 14 when she died. I was 17. She wanted to be a veterinarian. She loved horses. She had this laugh that made everyone around her laugh too. He ran his thumb over the engraving. I carry this so I don't forget why I do this job, why the hard calls matter, why showing up counts. Do you ever regret it? Becoming a paramedic? Sometimes, when I can't save someone, when the weight feels too heavy, but mostly no, it's who I needed to become. Emma set down her sandwich. I need to tell you something. About the preference note. Daniel waited. I wrote it 2 years ago. After a bad scare with shellfish. I was angry. At my body. At the allergy. At feeling fragile. So I wrote that note thinking I was taking control. Thinking if something happened, at least it would be on my terms. But that was 2 years ago. I was different then. Angrier, more isolated. I hadn't let anyone close. Including you. Not really. She met his eyes. If I'd updated that note recently, it wouldn't have said the same thing. What would it have said? That I trust you to make the right choice, whatever that is. Daniel's chest tightened. Emma, I'm not saying this to make you feel better. I'm saying it because it's true. You made the right call. I was too angry and scared to admit it before, but I'm admitting it now. Rain continued its rhythm. The kitchen felt smaller, warmer. I was terrified, Daniel said quietly, when the hospital called, when I had to sign, when they wheeled you into surgery. I've been a paramedic for 8 years. I've handled hundreds of emergencies, but that was different. Why? Because it was you. The words hung between them, heavy, significant. Emma's hands twisted together. Daniel, I need to ask, why did you really agree to this? 2 weeks of your life, taking care of someone. Why? I told you, you're my friend. That's not the whole answer. He looked at her, really looked. The careful distance he'd maintained cracked. No, it's not. Then what is? Daniel stood, walked to the window, watched rain streak the glass. I've been in love with you for 2 years, he said, quiet, clear. Since that night we almost kissed and you left instead. Since I realized I'd rather have you in my life as a friend than risk losing you by asking for more. Since I understood that some people matter more than pride. Emma's breath stopped. I agreed to 2 weeks because when the hospital called, my first thought wasn't duty or obligation. It was terror. Raw fear that I might lose you, that I'd have to live in a world where you didn't exist. And I can't. So I signed, and I brought you here. And I've spent 11 days pretending this is just friendship when it hasn't been for a long time. He turned, faced her. But you're here because you almost died, because you need care, because I made a choice that took your agency. So I'm not asking for anything. I'm not expecting anything. I'm just telling you the truth, because you asked. Emma stood slowly, walked to where he was. The space between them felt electric. 2 years? She whispered. 2 years. Why didn't you say anything? Because you kept leaving. Every time we got close, you'd pull back. And I understood. You were protecting yourself. I wasn't going to push. I kept leaving because I was scared. Of what? Of this, of needing you, of caring too much, of being the complicated one who makes everything harder. Daniel's hand came up, touched her face, gentle, careful. You don't make things harder, Emma. You make things matter. She leaned into his touch. I'm still scared. Me too. What if this doesn't work? What if it does? Emma closed her eyes. I can't lose you. If we try this and it falls apart, I lose my best friend. I can't handle that. Then we don't let it fall apart. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. Daniel's thumb traced her cheek. We've been circling this for years. We already know we work. We already trust each other. We already show up. The only thing missing is admitting we want more. Do you want more? I want everything, but I'll take whatever you can give. Emma opened her eyes. I'm a mess right now, recovering, dependent, not exactly relationship material. You're Emma. That's all the material I need. She wanted to argue, wanted to list reasons this was a bad idea, wanted to protect herself the way she always had. But she was tired of protecting herself, tired of leaving before things got real, tired of pretending that Daniel was just a friend when he was so much more. Okay, she said. Okay? I want to try. I want this. I'm terrified, but I want it. Daniel's smile broke slow and real. Yeah? Yeah. He leaned in, stopped just short. Can I kiss you? I've been waiting 2 years for you to ask. He kissed her, soft, careful, like she might break. She kissed him back, harder, like she was making up for lost time. When they pulled apart, Emma laughed. This is insane. I'm staying in your apartment, wearing your clothes. You've seen me at my worst, and now we're doing this? Better late than never. What if? He kissed her again, cut off the worry. When he pulled back, he said, we'll figure it out, together, like we always do. Emma nodded. Together. Rain continued outside. Inside, something had shifted, broken open, become real. Finally. Day 13, morning. Emma woke to Daniel making coffee. Normal routine. Except nothing was normal anymore. She joined him in the kitchen. He handed her a mug, kissed her forehead, casual, like they'd been doing this for years. How you feeling? He asked. Better, stronger, almost back to normal. Good. Doctor's appointment this afternoon. Final clearance, hopefully. Emma nodded, sipped her coffee. The apartment felt different now, less like a recovery space, more like somewhere she belonged. They'd spent the last 2 days in a strange limbo, kissing, talking, laughing, figuring out what this new thing between them looked like, but also knowing the clock was ticking. Day 14 was tomorrow, her discharge date. Daniel, she said, what happens after tomorrow? He looked at her. What do you want to happen? I don't know. I go home, I guess, back to my apartment. We figure out how to date like normal people who don't live together. Or what? Or you stay. Emma's heart stuttered. Stay? Here, with me. Not because you need care, Not because you're recovering, just because you want to. That's fast. We've been together for 2 days. We've been together for 3 years. We just made it official 2 days ago. My apartment. Keep it. Or don't. Your choice. I'm just saying, if you want to stay, if this feels right, we don't have to follow some timeline. Emma set down her mug. You're serious. Completely. What if we're rushing? What if we need time to figure this out separately before we... Daniel moved closer, took her hands. We've had time. We've had distance. We've had careful and slow and protected. And it brought us here. To you almost dying. To me signing a form at 2 a.m. To 11 days of pretending we were just friends. And 2 days of kissing. And 2 days of kissing, which I plan to continue for a very long time. Emma laughed, then stopped. I'm scared. I know. Me too. But I'm more scared of going back to coffee dates and careful distance. Of letting you leave when we both know you don't want to. How do you know I don't want to? Because you've been wearing my shirts even though your own clothes are right there. Because you've memorized how I take my coffee. Because when you wake up, you come find me. Because you look at this space like it's home. Emma's throat tightened. It feels like home. Then stay. Make it home. She wanted to, desperately, but old fears clawed up. What if I become a burden again? What if my allergy causes problems? What if... Then we handle it, together. That's what this is. We handle things. We show up. We make the hard choices, and we do it together. Emma looked around the apartment, at the coffee mugs on the counter, at the book he'd bought her on the table, at the space she'd occupied for 13 days that had somehow become hers. She thought about her apartment, 3 flights up, quiet, empty, hers alone, then thought about this, coffee every morning, conversation, laughter, someone to come home to, someone who'd already seen her at her worst and chosen to stay. Okay, she said. Okay? I'll stay. Not forever. Not right away. But I'll try. We'll try. Daniel pulled her close, kissed her properly. When they broke apart, he said, That's all I'm asking, that we try. And if it doesn't work, then we'll figure that out too. But I don't think it won't work. I think we've been working for 3 years. We just finally admitted it. Emma buried her face in his chest. I love you. I should have said that earlier, before or after all the other dramatic stuff. But I love you. I love you too, have for a while now. 2 years? 2 years. They stood in the kitchen, coffee cooling on the counter, rain starting again outside, holding each other like the world might try to pull them apart. But it wouldn't. Not this time. They'd already survived the worst. Everything else was just living. Day 14. Doctor's appointment. Dr. Patel reviewed Emma's charts, checked her vitals, asked questions, finally smiled. You're cleared, full release. The recovery went very well. You're extremely lucky, and clearly the care plan worked. Emma glanced at Daniel. He'd insisted on coming, sat in the corner of the exam room, present but quiet. What about future reactions? Emma asked. We're scheduling you with an allergist. You'll need to carry an EpiPen at all times. Be vigilant about ingredients. The good news is, with proper management, you can live normally. You just need to be careful. Careful, right. Dr. Patel looked between them. You two seem different than last time I saw you, less tense. We figured some things out, Daniel said. Good, that's good. Dr. Patel signed the discharge papers. Ms. Reid, you're officially free to resume normal activities, with caution. And Mr. Brooks, you did well. Not everyone can handle that level of care. After the appointment, they walked to Daniel's truck. The afternoon was clear, rare for Portland. Sunlight made everything sharp. So, Daniel said, you're officially free. What do you want to do first? Emma considered. I want to go to my apartment, pack what I need, and bring it to yours. Ours. Ours? That sounds weird. You'll get used to it. They drove to her building, climbed the 3 flights. Emma unlocked her door. The apartment smelled stale, closed in. She opened a window. Daniel helped her pack. Clothes, books, essentials. They worked in comfortable silence, the kind that came from knowing each other. You sure about this? Emma asked, folding shirts into a bag. About what? Me moving in. Us. All of it. Daniel stopped, sat on the edge of her bed. Emma, I've been sure about you since the second month I knew you. Everything else has just been waiting for you to catch up. I'm caught up now. Good. Took you long enough. She threw a shirt at him. He caught it, grinned. They finished packing. Emma took one last look around. This apartment had been hers for 5 years. Safety, solitude, the place she'd hidden when the world felt too complicated. But it also felt empty now, like a shell of someone she used to be. Ready? Daniel asked. Emma picked up her bag. Yeah, let's go home. They drove back through Portland, past the hospital where this had started, past coffee shops where they'd spent hundreds of hours, past all the places that made up the geography of their friendship. When they reached Daniel's apartment, their apartment now, Emma stood on the sidewalk for a moment. 2 weeks ago, she'd been unconscious in an ambulance. 1 week ago, she'd been angry and scared. Today, she was choosing this, choosing him, choosing to build something that mattered. You okay? Daniel asked. I was just thinking, when the hospital called you at 2 a.m., did you know that this was where we'd end up? No, I just knew I couldn't lose you. And now? Now I don't have to worry about losing you. You're right here. Emma took his hand. I'm right here. They went inside, together, the way they'd been heading for 3 years without realizing it, the way they'd continue, for as long as they both kept choosing each other, which, Emma suspected, would be a very long time. 2 weeks after the discharge, Emma woke to an empty bed. Not her bed anymore, their bed. Daniel's apartment had become theirs gradually. Her books on his shelves, her coffee mug next to his, her toothbrush in the holder. Small integrations that added up to home. She found him in the kitchen, making breakfast. He turned when he heard her. Morning, sleep okay? Better than okay. He smiled, kissed her, handed her coffee. This routine had become familiar, easy. Emma checked her phone, text from work. Her first day back was tomorrow, 2 weeks of sick leave used up. Time to rejoin the world. Nervous? Daniel asked. A little. Everyone's going to want the story, the details. I'm not great with attention. Tell them the truth. You had a severe reaction. You're better now. They don't need more than that. Sophie's been texting, wants to meet you officially. She says any man who inspires me to actually cohabitate deserves inspection. Daniel laughed. Inspection. Sounds intense. She's protective, but fair. You'll like her. When? This weekend? Dinner at that Italian place you like? Sure, I'm off Saturday. Emma nodded, set down her coffee. Can I ask you something? Always. Do you ever regret it? How we started? The emergency? The forced proximity? The lack of normal dating progression? Daniel leaned against the counter, considered. No, I think we'd have circled each other for years otherwise. Both too careful, both too scared. The emergency was awful, but it also cut through all the pretense, made us deal with real things. Still, most couples don't begin with life or death medical decisions. Most couples don't have 3 years of friendship first. We had a foundation. We just needed a push to build on it. A very dramatic push. You've always been dramatic. Emma threw a dish towel at him. He caught it, grinned. I should call my parents, she said. Tell them I'm living with someone. They'll lose their minds. Because you've never done this before? Because I've always been fiercely independent. The kid who moved across states to avoid them. The one who didn't need anyone. She paused. They made me feel like a burden growing up. The allergy kid, the complicated one. I spent years proving I didn't need them, or anyone. Daniel moved closer, took her hands. And now? Now I'm choosing to need someone, choosing to be needed. It's terrifying, but also good. Want me there when you call them? Would you? Of course. They called that evening. Emma's parents were surprised, concerned, full of questions. Daniel answered some, let Emma handle others. By the end, they seemed cautiously pleased. After hanging up, Emma collapsed on the couch. That was exhausting. You did great. They still think I'm the fragile one, the kid who needs protecting. You're not fragile, you're careful. There's a difference. Emma looked at him. You really believe that? I know it. She pulled him down beside her, rested her head on his shoulder. Thank you for being here. Where else would I be? 1 month in, Emma had a bad day at work. Client rejected her designs. Budget cuts threatened her contract. Her boss had been curt. Everything felt precarious. She came home exhausted, frustrated, ready to spiral into the old patterns of isolation and self-blame. Instead, Daniel was there. He'd cook dinner, set the table, put on music she liked. Rough day? He asked when she walked in. How'd you know? You have a specific face, the one that says the world was unkind and you're taking it personally. Emma dropped her bag, sat at the table. I hate that you can read me that well. I think you secretly love it. She smiled despite herself. Maybe. They ate. Daniel listened while she vented. Didn't try to fix things, just let her talk. When she finished, he said, You're incredibly talented. One bad day doesn't change that. I know, logically, but it still feels like failure. Failure would be not trying. You tried. The client's an idiot. Emma laughed. You can't say that. I just did, and I'm right. After dinner, they watched a documentary, some nature thing about migratory birds. Emma fell asleep halfway through, woke up with a blanket over her, Daniel still beside her. Sorry, she mumbled. I'm terrible company tonight. You're perfect company, even when you're exhausted. I used to hate bad days because I'd go home and sit with them alone, spiral for hours. And now? Now I come home to you, and somehow it doesn't feel as heavy. Daniel kissed her temple. That's what I'm here for, to help carry the heavy stuff. Emma closed her eyes. I love you, even when I'm a mess. Especially when you're a mess. 6 weeks in, Sophie came for dinner. Emma had cleaned the apartment twice. Daniel had assured her it was fine. She'd cleaned it again anyway. Sophie arrived with wine and scrutiny. She hugged Emma, then turned to Daniel. So, you're the one. I guess so, Daniel said. Emma doesn't do relationships, ever. You must be something special. Sophie, Emma warned. What? It's true. You've been single since I've known you, which is 12 years. Then you nearly die and suddenly you're living with someone. I need to make sure he's worth it. Daniel smiled. Fair enough. What do you want to know? Sophie sat. How'd you meet? First aid class, 3 years ago. And you waited 3 years to make a move? We were friends first. It mattered. Why? Because Emma needed space, and I needed to be sure. Neither of us was ready for more until recently. Sophie looked at Emma. He's articulate. I like that. Dinner was easy. Sophie told stories about Emma in college. Emma protested. Daniel laughed. By the end, Sophie seemed satisfied. When she left, she hugged Emma at the door. I approve. He's good for you. You think? I know. You look different, lighter, like you're not carrying everything alone anymore. I'm not. Good. You deserve that. After Sophie left, Emma and Daniel cleaned up together, moving around the kitchen in synchronized patterns. She's intense, Daniel said. She cares. I can tell. She's protective of you. Is that okay? It's great. Everyone needs people who care that much. Emma dried the last dish. I used to think needing people made me weak, that relying on anyone was failure. What changed? You. This. Realizing that being alone isn't the same as being strong. Daniel pulled her close. You were always strong. You just didn't need to prove it anymore. 2 months in, Daniel had a nightmare. Emma woke to him thrashing, mumbling. She touched his shoulder. He jerked awake, disoriented, breathing hard. Hey, she said softly, you're okay. You're home. He sat up, ran hands through his hair. Sorry, did I wake you? It's fine. Bad dream? Yeah. About? Daniel hesitated. Then, the call, the one from day 9, the kid who died. Emma moved closer. You've been carrying that. I always carry them, the ones we lose. That's part of the job. But this one was different? He was young, had his whole life, and I couldn't save him, just like I couldn't save Melissa, just like I almost couldn't save you. Emma took his hand. But you did save me. I'm right here. This time. What about next time? There might not be a next time. There might. Your allergy isn't cured, it's managed. One mistake, one cross-contamination, and we're back to hospitals and consent forms and me making impossible choices. Emma saw it then, the fear he'd been carrying, the weight of being her emergency contact, her person, the one who'd have to choose again if needed. Daniel, look at me. He did. I'm careful now, more careful than before. I carry an EpiPen everywhere. I check ingredients obsessively. I'm doing everything right. I know, but you're still scared, terrified, because now I love you, and the stakes are higher, and I know what it feels like to almost lose you. Emma climbed into his lap, wrapped arms around him. I'm scared too, of having another reaction, of putting you through that again, of being the burden I always feared I'd be. You're not a burden, and you're not responsible for keeping me alive. You're my partner, not my protector. We're in this together. Daniel held her tighter. I just want you safe. I am safe as anyone can be, and we handle the rest as it comes. They sat in the dark, holding each other. The nightmare faded. Reality settled back in. I love you, Daniel said. Sometimes it scares me how much. Me too. But we don't run from scary. We face it. Together. Together. 3 months in, Emma had a panic attack. Not about allergies, not about health, about work, about money, about the future, about everything colliding at once. She was sitting at her laptop when it hit, chest tight, breathing shallow, the apartment walls closing in. She tried to breathe through it, couldn't. Tried to calm herself, couldn't. She called Daniel without thinking. He answered on the second ring. Hey, what's up? I can't breathe. Are you having a reaction? No, just panic. I don't know. Everything feels wrong. Okay, I'm coming home. Can you get to the couch? Yeah. Do it. Sit down. Focus on my voice. Emma moved to the couch, phone pressed to her ear. Breathe with me, Daniel said. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Can you do that? She tried, stumbled, tried again. That's it, keep going. In, hold, out. I'm 5 minutes away. They breathed together over the phone. By the time Daniel walked through the door, Emma's breathing had slowed. The panic hadn't left, but had loosened its grip. He sat beside her, took her hand. Talk to me. I don't know what happened. I was working. Then suddenly everything felt impossible. The deadlines, the bills, the future. It all crashed down. Did something trigger it? I got an email. My lease on the old apartment is up in 2 months. I have to decide if I'm renewing or officially moving here. And that scared you? It made it real. This, us, choosing to stay instead of keeping an escape route. Daniel nodded. Do you want an escape route? No. Yes. I don't know. I love being here. I love you. But committing fully terrifies me. What if I'm bad at this? What if I mess it up? Then we fix it. Together. That's what commitment means. Not perfection, just showing up. Emma wiped her eyes. I called you without thinking. During a panic attack. That's new for me. Good new or bad new? Good. Terrifying, but good. Before, I'd have dealt with this alone. Hidden it. Pretended I was fine. And now? Now I called you. Because you're the person I want. When things fall apart. Daniel pulled her close. I'm always going to answer, no matter what, no matter when. Even if I'm being irrational? Especially then. Emma laughed weakly. I think I want to let the old apartment go, make this official, but I need to say it out loud, so it's real, so I can't take it back. Say it. I'm staying. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing you. I'm terrified and hopeful and completely in love. And I'm staying. Daniel kissed her forehead. I'm staying too. 4 months in. Emma and Daniel had their first real fight. Not about big things. About small things that represented big things. Emma had reorganized the kitchen without asking. Daniel had been annoyed. She'd been defensive. He'd pushed back. She'd escalated. Now they were standing in the living room, voices raised, frustration spilling over. I just think if you're going to change how things work, you could ask first, Daniel said. I live here now. I should be able to organize the kitchen without permission. It's not about permission. It's about consideration. I had a system. It worked. Your system was chaotic. Nothing was where it should be. It made sense to me. Well, it didn't make sense to me, and I cook here too, so I fixed it. Daniel's jaw tightened. You fixed it, like my way was wrong. I didn't say that. You implied it. Emma crossed her arms. Why are we even fighting about this? It's just dishes. It's not just dishes. It's you making unilateral decisions in a shared space. I was trying to help. I didn't ask for help. Well, maybe you should have. The kitchen was a disaster. Daniel stepped back. Okay, I'm walking away before I say something I'll regret. Don't walk away. That's what I used to do. We're supposed to face things. Facing things doesn't mean yelling about cabinet organization. Then what does it mean? It means acknowledging that we're both adjusting, that sharing space is hard, that sometimes we'll disagree, and we work through it without making it a referendum on our entire relationship. Emma deflated. Is that what I'm doing? A little, yeah. She sat on the couch. I'm sorry. You're right. I should have asked. I wanted to feel like this was my space too, and organizing felt like claiming it. Daniel sat beside her. It is your space, but it's also mine. We figure out together how to make it ours. I'm bad at sharing. I've been alone for so long. I know. So have I. We're both learning. Emma leaned against him. I'm sorry I reorganized without asking. I'm sorry I got defensive. Your system actually makes more sense. Really? Really? I'm just stubborn. They sat in silence, the anger fading, understanding settling in its place. We're going to fight again, Emma said. Probably, but we'll figure it out, like we figured this out. Promise? Promise. 6 months in, anniversary of the hospital call. Emma woke that morning aware of the date. 6 months since 2 a.m., since Daniel signed the form, since everything changed. She found him in the kitchen, coffee already made. You remembered? He asked. Hard to forget. How do you feel about it? Emma poured coffee, thought about the question. Grateful, scared, aware that life is fragile, that we got lucky. We did. If things had gone differently, if you hadn't been listed, if you'd hesitated. I didn't, and we're here. Emma nodded. I want to do something, to mark it, not celebrate exactly, but acknowledge. What did you have in mind? Visit the hospital. Thank Dr. Patel if she's available. Maybe donate to their emergency fund. Something that honors what happened without dwelling in the fear. Daniel smiled. I think that's perfect. They went that afternoon. The hospital looked different in daylight. Less frightening, more routine. Dr. Patel was available. She met them in her office, smiled when she saw them. Ms. Reid, Mr. Brooks, this is a pleasant surprise. We wanted to thank you, Emma said, for everything you did, for saving my life, for guiding Daniel through impossible choices. I'm glad to see you both thriving. You look well. I am, thanks to you, and to him. Dr. Patel looked between them. You're together now? We are. I thought so. That night, the way he looked at you, I could tell it was more than just duty. Daniel took Emma's hand. It was always more. We just needed a push to admit it. Well, I'm happy for you both. And thank you for the donation. It will help many people. Afterward, they walked through the hospital garden, a small space outside the emergency wing, peaceful despite the setting. This is where I waited, Daniel said. While you were in surgery, I walked out here, tried to breathe, tried to believe you'd be okay. Emma squeezed his hand. I was, because of you. Because of a lot of things. Timing, medicine, luck. And because you made the hard choice when it mattered most. They sat on a bench, watched people come and go, emergencies and resolutions, life continuing. I used to be so angry, Emma said, about that night, about you overriding my wishes. But now I understand. You didn't take my choice. You made a different one, the one that kept me here. Would you have done the same, if it had been me? Emma considered. Yes, absolutely, without hesitation. Even if I'd had a preference note saying otherwise? Even then, because love means choosing the other person's life, even when they're too scared to choose it themselves. Daniel pulled her close. I love you, more than I knew I could love anyone. I love you too. Thank you for saving me, in every way that counts. 8 months in, Sophie's wedding. Emma wore a dark green dress. Daniel wore a suit. They looked good together, matched in that effortless way couples develop. The ceremony was beautiful. Sophie cried. Her groom cried. Emma cried. Daniel handed her tissues. At the reception they danced, slowly, Emma's head on Daniel's shoulder. You okay? He asked. More than okay. Happy. Good. Sophie asked me something earlier, if I'd update my emergency contact information, now that we're together. And? I told her it's already updated. You're still listed, but now there's a note. What kind of note? Emma looked up at him. It says, Daniel Brooks, partner, the person I love. Trust him to make any choice necessary. Daniel's throat tightened. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to, because it's true. You made the right choice once. You'll make it again if needed. I trust that completely. I hope I never have to. Me too, but if you do, I trust you. They kept dancing. Around them, celebration continued. But in their small orbit, everything was quiet, certain, real. I've been thinking, Daniel said, about the future, our future, what it looks like long term. Emma's heart sped up. And I don't have a ring. This isn't a proposal, but I want you to know I'm serious about this, about us, about building something permanent. Daniel, you don't have to answer now. I'm just saying, when you're ready, if you're ready, I'm already there. Emma stopped dancing, looked at him, this man who'd saved her life, who'd given up his space, who'd shown up every single day since. I'm ready, she said. Yeah? Yeah, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next month, but soon, because I can't imagine building a future with anyone else. Daniel kissed her, right there on the dance floor, with people watching and music playing, and Sophie cheering from across the room. When they broke apart, Emma laughed. "We're making a scene." "Good. Let them see. Let everyone know you're mine, and I'm yours." Possessive? Absolutely. They danced until late, celebrated Sophie's beginning, acknowledged their own. On the drive home, Emma watched Portland pass by. The city she'd moved to alone. The place she'd built a life in isolation. Now it looked different, full of shared memories, shared spaces, a shared future. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For answering the phone at 2 a.m., for signing the form, for 2 weeks of recovery, for 8 months of everything else, for choosing me." Daniel reached over, took her hand. "I'll always choose you, from 2 a.m. calls to regular Tuesdays to every moment in between. Always." "Promise?" "Promise." They drove the rest of the way in comfortable silence, the kind built on foundation, on trust, on knowing that whatever came next, they'd face it together. Emma had spent years avoiding dependency, fearing connection, protecting herself from the possibility of being too much for someone else. Then a hospital call had forced proximity, had stripped away all her defenses, had made her need someone in the most terrifying way possible. And on the other side of that terror, she'd found this: partnership, love, home. Not despite the emergency, but because of it. Sometimes the worst moments revealed the best things. Sometimes falling apart was necessary to build something stronger. Sometimes emergency contacts became everything. And Emma Reid, who'd once written a note refusing intervention, now trusted Daniel Brooks with every choice that mattered, including the choice to love him completely, courageously, for as long as they both kept showing up, which she suspected would be a very long time indeed.